We don't subscribe to the old school way, nor the new school way, only the optimal way. The 80-20 baseball experience with Coach Ball.
Take a step back, make hitting easier. Buy more time. When life throws us a curveball and we need to make a difficult decision, a great response can be to step back, think about it some more, and then make the decision. The approach allows more time to process the decision, and not always, but more often than not, the extra processing time leads to better decision making. When it comes to baseball, batters have milliseconds to decide if they'll swing at a given pitch, or if it's a pitch worth swinging at, or if they'll let it pass. These pitch-by-pitch decisions have a massive impact on the outcome of a game. Ted Williams, one of the great hitters of all time, was very clear in that he believed the number one thing a hitter must do with less than 2 strikes is to get a good pitch to hit. So one of the greatest, smartest hitters ever is saying the number one thing a hitter must do is to get a good pitch. Much easier said than done. The more time a hitter gets to see the pitch coming in, the more information they'll have to make an accurate decision as to whether it's a good pitch to swing at or not. I highly recommend hitters buy themselves as much time as possible by moving as far away from the pitcher's release point as the rules allow. Default setting. As a coach or a player, I recommend a default setting, a default position of placing the back foot, the hitter placing the back foot on the back line of the batter's box, closest to the catcher. The extra foot or 2, depending on the hitters. Some of these hitters are getting middle of the box or moving up to the upper third, the front third of the box. This will give hitters, by moving back, more time to accurately decide whether the pitch is worth being swung at or not. And take a few minutes right now to search the internet for photographs or videos, or when we're done with this and you're done listening, take a few minutes, just do a quick search of your favorite hitters in the major leagues. You can image it or video search it and look closely at where their feet are when they are in the batter's box. 99% of the time, the back foot is touching the line closest to the catcher. Many of the great hitters have part of their back foot outside of the chalk line. And I've seen this many of times where hitters will actually dig out that back chalk line. And if you look at the back chalk line, the back, painted line of the batter's box in a major league game, by the end of the game, or even halfway through the game, that back line is just dug out. And there really isn't much of a line. Well informed. Whether MLB hitters are trying to put a good swing on a firm fastball or accurately decide whether or not to swing at a breaking ball that has good depth, they clearly understand the value of gathering more information about a pitch before being required to swing. Again, required, meaning if you don't swing, right, we all know that if you don't swing on time, it's going to be by you. Even the slowest of pitch, you have to swing by a certain point. A trade worth making. Now, some advanced coaches and players may have some thoughts as to why moving back in the batter's box may make some aspects of hitting more difficult. I understand that. For example, a low strike may become a harder pitch to hit, or that moving back in the box may, geometrically speaking, shave off a few degrees of fair territory. These are valid concerns, although I strongly believe the trade-off makes moving all the way back in the box well worth it. Moving to the back of the box helps the hitter on every single pitch, while those examples that I just brought up, those examples of concern, will only show up intermittently from time to time, and maybe not for multiple games. But giving yourself as a hitter more time on every pitch to decide whether to swing, whether to take, what kind of swing it is, especially with 2 strikes, but even without 2 strikes, it's still just as important what quality of pitch, the type of pitch, the location of pitch that you're looking for. I highly recommend moving to the back of the box for every hitter, and then we'll talk about a few exceptions in a minute. It's all relative. Another opposing comment I commonly hear is, quote, well, they're major league players and I'm coaching 11-year-olds. My response to that is that it is all relative. The speed of the pitches are slightly faster for those major league hitters, but those major league hitters swing a heck of a lot faster than the typical 11-year-old. With mound distance factored into the equation, a 72 mile an hour Little League fastball is actually equivalent to a 95 mile an hour Major League fastball. So you have mound distance, you got strength, you have a lot of factors that make it relative. And we'll get into some more of those as we move forward here. The eephus exception. Now, Coach Bo, what about those extremely slow pitchers? You know, those soft tossers. Should we still be in the back of the box when facing those guys? Okay, you got me there. Yes, against extremely slow pitchers, I would recommend standing up in the box and set up more in the middle. Not all the way to the front of the box, but to the middle of the box. And when I say slow, I mean extraordinarily slow. Moreover, the best way to adjust for extremely slow pitchers is not necessarily to move up in the box, but rather incorporate extraordinarily slow pitches into your batting practice routine, especially if you know a soft tosser's coming or a slower pitcher's coming up on the schedule or in the next game. And I know that's not always knowable, and I know that at different levels you don't even know who's on the other team. But as you get a little more advanced, you start knowing who's coming up, who you're going to face. And if you're facing a slow pitcher and your batting practice speed hasn't changed a little bit, at least one round of it, or a few pitches here and there, then you're not doing your hitters a favor. You're doing them a disservice by not adjusting the speed of that pitch to the upcoming pitcher. Now, I know soft tossers and extremely slow pitchers are not, overly common. They're not, something we see all the time, but we do see them, and they are out there, and they're all the way up to the major league level. And I think it's important that we adjust batting practice for those slow pitchers. We adjust our speeds on batting practice. And I recommend every once in a while doing this, and not even every once in a while, but every batting practice, throughout it, randomly throw in an extremely slow pitch, an extremely slow breaking ball. All right, throw that out there. Keep your hitters where they really have to be disciplined with waiting. And that's why guys like Mark Burley and Tom Glavine and all these slow pitchers and guys in your league, these slow pitchers, that's why they can go out there and carve up guys. That's why Mark Burley can go out there and throw a perfect game and throw in 84 miles an hour. He's throwing an average high school fastball, and it's not like his breaking ball was a knee buckler by any means. He went out there with an average high school velocity fastball, an average high school curveball. Now, his changeup was really awesome. But even with that said, the hitters didn't have to be overly concerned about the fastball getting tossed by him. The reason he was able to go out there, in my opinion, and be so successful and throw a perfect game and have a long career, and Tom Glavine made it to the Hall of Fame and was 300-game winner in baseball in the major leagues, not throwing extremely hard. And guys like Greg Maddux got better as they started throwing a little slower and mixing in things that were of slower varieties. I really, truly believe a lot of that's because we don't train hitters in batting practice enough and we don't train their discipline enough to let that ball travel, to let it get there. And I understand that because most of the guys that you face at every level are not going to be throwing extremely slow or quite a bit slow. They're not going to be an outlier necessarily. They might be like fringe slow, but that's not necessarily enough to really, adjust your batting practice routine completely. But if you start throwing in these slower pitches from time to time, and especially if you know a slow pitcher's coming up, you should adjust your batting practice routine a little bit. It can pay big dividends come game time with your discipline. Terabyte versus gigabyte. Lastly, youth hitters have a similar amount. Now, this goes back to the comments I get a lot when I discuss this with coaches and people within the baseball world that are stuck on the move up Those guys are major league hitters. I'm going to have my guy move up. My kids move up. They're not, the big league hitters are facing they're facing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. Well, really, they're not. The average fastball in the major leagues is 92.6, or it's not even 93 miles an hour. It's below 93. So it's not 100 miles an hour. And yet, when these hitters are facing those 90 mile an hour, 92 mile an hour pitchers, look at where they're standing in the box. The greatest hitters in the world are at the back of the box. So get into the terabyte versus gigabyte example here. Youth hitters have a similar amount of time to react to a pitch as those major league hitters. But that still doesn't tell the whole story. Major league hitters have a considerable advantage over younger players. Stay with me here. They have a considerable advantage by having a knowledge database of tens of thousands of pitches. Derek Jeter stepped into the batter's box with a solid state drive up there in his brain containing 20 terabytes of experiential pitch information, while youth and amateur hitters are stepping into the batter's box with more like 2 gigabyte USB flash drives. All right. That's not a knock on the kids. It's just reality. I mean, Derek Jeter and these major leaguers have seen thousands and thousands and thousands of pitches. I mean, more than just thousands and thousands and thousands more than your youth player, sometimes tens of thousands. They have all that experience of seeing pitch, and that information has been collected. So that gives them a huge advantage, yet they're still at the back of the box. And I hear coaches say, well, that's major league players are in the back of the box, and I'm going to have my youth guys move up. And I'm like, whoa, that pitcher's throwing average speed or above average speed or even average, like I said. Why would you not want more time for your hitter? Why would you do that to your hitter? Because you're talking milliseconds when it comes to batting. And so when it comes to milliseconds, that 1 foot, that foot and a half, that 16 inches of extra time is huge. And then back to kind of the other two arguments, kind of like, well, what if the pitch is a low strike? You know what? I think a pitcher throwing 3 perfect strikes at the knees. Now you're talking pitches at the knees because that's really the only difference maker it's going to be when it crosses at the knees. If you're back a little bit, that pitch is definitely going to be an inch or two lower. But you're talking about the average pitch trajectory being 8 degrees. It's not dropping a whole lot more that last 2 feet. So I could even make that argument that if the average pitch trajectory is a downward angle of only 8 degrees, I don't think that's going to make a huge difference when you move back a foot. A foot at 8 degrees, I mean, I don't know what the math is off the top of my head, but it couldn't be more than like an inch or two less than what it would have been had you been in the middle of the box or 2 or 3 inches up. And again, you're not talking about swinging and missing by 2 or 3 inches because that's definitely a big problem, right? You're just talking about the pitch being 2 or 3 inches lower. And I think when it comes to the quality of pitch for a hitter to hit, a 2 to 3 inches lower isn't going to make a massive difference. And at the end of the day, you probably shouldn't have your hitters swinging at low strikes at the knees with less than 2 strikes. Unless they swing like Mike Trout, then yeah, go ahead and start crushing it like you're a golfer and, win a bunch of MVPs. But moving forward here, finishing it up. Even with all that experience, the adult man strength that Jeter has, and all that stuff, that information that he has in his brain and all the experience and all that knowledge, even the captain Jeter still kept his back foot on the back line. Now, like the great Jeter, go dig out the back chalk line, dig out the paint on the back of that batter's box closest to the catcher, and give yourself, coaches, give your hitters the opportunity to have more time to make a game-changing decision. Back to the beginning of this discussion, I would have it as the default. I would tell my hitter simply, you are to be on the back line of the batter's box unless the coach brings it up. Now, you may have a player, you can give the player permission to bring it up to you. Coach, this guy's you got a lot of things going on as a coach, especially a youth coach. Now, if you're a high school coach or a college coach or a professional coach, you should never have a player come up and tell you this before you already saw it. But as you're coaching 8-year-olds and you got a bunch of stuff going on and this, and you got, kids like, I got to go to the bathroom and this, you got, hey, I need help opening my Gatorade. You got a lot of things going on, right? I can't get my belt on, or hey, I can't find my glove. So when you're a youth coach, it doesn't hurt to have your players give them the permission. Hey guys, if you see a slow pitcher warming up or a slow pitcher, hey, just let's bring it up and we'll talk about it. But most of the time, you're going to see it before your players. You're going to see, wow, this guy's a real soft tosser. Wow, this guy throws extremely slow. Thus, then you can go to what you could call it like, plan B or not even plan B, but something where you call it, all right, we're up, plan up, or something like that. Something simple where then they know, okay, on this pitcher, we're moving middle of the box or slightly up and, maybe upper, not all the way to the front, but upper third. All right. So I would have the default setting for all hitters to be in the back of the box, back line, unless otherwise discussed or unless they got permission from you as the coach to do otherwise. Go try it out, guys. I'm guaranteeing you over the course of a long season, this is going to pay huge, huge dividends. I'm Coach Bo. Thank you for your time. Take care.
This has been the 80-20 Baseball Experience.
This is a really good team, and so you have to earn everything you have against them and take opportunities when they present themselves.
Take it to the field.